Happy Wednesday. All right, y'all. Y'all know what time it is. It's the Inner Circle Collective, and it is time for your financial tips this week. Of course, we have been talking about debt management all month long for January 2026. And so it is time for us to talk about things that we need to get done this week in regards to other considerations for debt management. So let's get into it. If you don't know who I am, I'm LaShawn E. Michael Esquire, your legacy builder coach of the Inner Circle Collective, but I'm also the CEO and owner and founder of Cycles of Life, a estate planning company where we're moving people from financial security, financial freedom, while building a financial legacy that lasts a lifetime. And you say, LaShawn, how do we do that? We're going to ace that thing. We're going to assess. We're going to consult. Then we're going to execute all your estate planning and financial needs. All right, y'all, before we get started on the information for today, let me remind you that we are still in the Shopping Freeze Challenge. So, of course, for the month of January, we have given up certain things to utilize that money and reappropriate that money to or reallocate it to debt and savings. So, this week, we are giving up fast food purchases. I know. Kids are hungry and you want to jump in and, oh, I'm hungry, mommy, can you stop here to our favorite restaurant? I want you to do no fast food purchases for this month. I want you to do no fast food purchases for this week, for the rest of the month. And then again, I want you to add the money that you would save up, either put it in a savings account or pay it towards debt. And of course, for the month of January, we have been giving up everything. So from treats to reviewing your subscriptions. Last week, it was no online shopping, no Amazon, no DoorDash, no anything. And then this week, fast food. I just want y'all to drive past them. Your body will thank you, and your pocketbook surely will thank you. All right, so let's get into it. Of course, we have been talking about other considerations this week for debt management. All right, I'm not going to keep y'all long. We're here for a good time, but not a long time. So remember that we are talking about how can we get rid of debt. And one way we can do it, of course, understanding the kind of debt we have. We have been talking about this week secured debt versus unsecured debt. Now, of course, I've told you all that debt does no longer go away when you pass away. So let's get that myth out of the way. You know, you thinking that your grandma owed $1,000 on a credit card and they're not going to attach to her estate. Wrong. But secure debt, let's talk about that first. Secure debt is debt that has collateral attached to it. So your home, your automobile, etc. Secure debt is a debt that has your collateral attached to it. So your mortgage, etc. That is secure debt, because if you do not pay your mortgage, they take your house, correct? Or it goes into foreclosure. So that is an example of secure debt. Unsecured debt is debt that does not have a collateral attached. It usually has higher interest rates. It usually can put you in a posture of losing money or spending an exorbitant amount more money for it. And it usually has no appreciating value. So, of course, when you buy a home, it has an appreciating value. Versus if you're using credit cards and you're racking up credit card debt, most of the things that you are using and buying with those credit cards has depreciating value, like clothes, like a car. Those are unsecured debts and types of debts that really has no consequences and can help you in any kind of way. Okay? So again, when we're looking at secured debt versus unsecured debt, it's really a collateral attached. It usually, secured debt has an appreciating value. You can get tax implications or tax deductions from it, like your mortgage, etc. And then you have unsecured debt, which is usually debt that usually has higher interest rates, depreciating value, and really does nothing for your financials besides possibly put you in a posture that you are losing as far as your credit score, losing as far as your debt to credit utilization ratio. So those are the two things that I wanted you all to think of for secure debt versus unsecured debt. In contrast, I want you to also think about this week when you're looking at debt management, good debt versus bad debt. Okay? So good debt, again, good debt helps you with higher earning potential, better tax implications, is an appreciating value, and it's something that is going to benefit you in the long run. Bad debt, on the other hand, higher interest rate, depreciating value, and something that is not going to benefit you long term, that has a temporary value to it and will go away, and there's no tax implications, meaning you can't claim it on your taxes, etc. So, examples of good debt. Of course, mortgage, student loan debt. Those are examples of good debt. And why those good examples? Because, of course, even though with all that is going on in this country with student debt, one of the things that we know for sure is that the more education you have, the more valuable you are to an employer, to yourself, and you can market yourself better. So, of course, people are in love with credentials, and I say that all the time. So that's why when you hear me say LaShawnee Michael Esquire, because I have a law degree, I took a bar, I spent money, I had student loan debt, and I paid for this law degree. And besides working hard for it, because it's not an easy discipline to get into, but there is some credibility, there's earning potential. I certainly would make more money, and I have made more money with my law degree versus my political science degree from undergrad. That's not to say I couldn't make money in it, but what I'm telling you is that when you get a doctorate, a PhD, a master's, a higher degree than just a bachelor's, you are more marketable, whether you are going in a certain field or you are painting a course that you can go in a bunch of fields. And one good thing about me being a lawyer is I don't have to do what you all consider traditional law. So what that means is that I don't have to go in the courtroom and be Matlock or Law and Order. I can do transactional law, meaning I sit at a desk, I do contracts, etc. I can work for a record company. I can own a record company. I can be a CEO of a business like I am. I can do a myriad of things because I have a myriad of skill sets from this one law degree. Good debt. Okay? So, bad debt. You guessed it. Automobile loans, payday loans, and of course, revolving credit card debt, bad debt, because usually that is just something to fill a temporary fill. Now, of course, you need a car, but the reality is with a car, you should get a car that you can afford versus getting a car that you really want. All of us want luxury vehicles, including myself. And I'm blessed enough that I own what's considered a luxury vehicle. However, it is a payment. It is maintenance. It is a lot that comes with that vehicle that if I had a Toyota Camry, and I'm not using that it's not a luxury vehicle because I too owned a Toyota Camry. And I still own it. Well, I should say my dad owns it now. But whatever the case may be, it was a good value and I was able to pay it off. But it wasn't expensive to maintain. It was a very good car as far as maintenance. However, when I say bad debt, some of you all are getting into luxury vehicles and you're not thinking about how much it costs to maintain that vehicle. For example, I own a luxury vehicle. When I go and take it to get maintenance or maintained, it is $500 to $1,000 every time pretty much I go, unless I go for a basic oil change, and that's $200 and something at the dealership. Now, if you find a good friend mechanic that you can rely upon, of course, you probably have a slightly different circumstance, but a luxury car is a lot more to maintain. And remember, the minute you drive a car, and I don't care if it's a Lamborghini or a Hugo, same thing, it depreciates in value. And yes, there are celebrities that have these big luxury cars, Lamborghinis, vintage Rolls Royce. Those things, yes, the reason why they maintain in value, because they're not driving them every day. Okay? So when I say bad debt, that's what I mean. Of course, a payday loan. I don't know how many times we have to advise you, particularly elderly people and vulnerable populations that suffer with income disparities. Do not do a title payday loan on your vehicle or a payday loan towards another collateral. The reality is those interest rates are extremely high. Those loans are predatory. And if you think about it, the amount they're giving you, which is usually very nominal. And let me say this because I'm not trying to come off arrogant or someone that has money. I've had all incomes, okay? I have had little and I've had a lot of income. I've been blessed on both ends. However, when I had a little income, there was things I had to know that was not going to benefit me long term. Someone giving you a $2,000 loan with 100+% interest rate, or a 90% interest rate, or 35% interest rate will not benefit you, because you'll actually wind up paying almost double back for the loan. It's a short amount of time for the loan, and usually they know when they lend you the money that you're probably not going to either meet the terms or the time to pay it back. So again, bad debt. When you're going out here and using credit card debt for fringe purchases. Oh, I want $1,000 or $2,000 Chanel bag. If you cannot go in there and pay cash for a Chanel bag, you probably shouldn't have a Chanel bag. If you can't put $2,000 worth of money in the Chanel bag, that's an indicator that you did not need the Chanel bag. If you do not have $2,000 saved to put in the bag that you just spent $2,000 for, that you probably couldn't afford, that is considered a bad debt. Again, I am a shopaholic, and I tell you all this all the time, and I'm not saying that you can't have nice things and you can't splurge. But if you do not have the cash to pay for it, think about the long-term consequences of making that purchase. Even if you can make it, even if you have a credit card, even if you have something else, was it worth getting in the debt that you're going to get into now because you're worried about, oh, why didn't I get that done? So when I say this, it's not to make you feel like, oh, I was trying to make you feel bad about this or that. What I'm trying to tell you is that being alert in regards to the kind of debt you're carrying and what you're doing is always so important. So those are the things that we talked about so far this week that I wanted you all to get into and understand, because again, this kind of understanding about debt is something that you just have to get into, because it is too hard not to realize that this is something that you got to understand that is not worth you putting yourself at risk and not worth you going in and not doing the things you need to do. I am telling you all that when you're sitting here saying, oh, I just wish I was doing something different. Oh, I wish that I wasn't in this kind of debt. The reason that you are struggling with debt is because you are making a choice for something that you probably did not need to get into in the first place. So again, what we learned this week and what we're talking about for Wednesday is debt management and understanding other considerations when you're trying to get a hold of your credit. One of the things I want you to think about and continue to think about is, is this a secured debt or unsecured debt? And the value of dealing with secured debt versus unsecured debt. I want you to also think about, is it a good debt versus a bad debt? Again, we all have wants and desires. Again, I want you to always think about, is this a need versus a want? I want you to continue to reimagine how you look and see and think about money. The reason why I say that, because if you do not, what winds up happening is, I don't understand why I'm in this place and continue to be in this place. Debt management is something that is continual, y'all. It is not something that we can just do at the beginning of the year every year, or when tax times come and you get a little money back. This is something that you should be considering every year. Remember, I know we all have FOMO, and that's fear of missing out. I get it. I suffer from that too. I want to go to all the concerts. I want to be in this place. I want to go to all the functions. I want to be at all the social events. However, you have to make a decision. Is it something that you can financially afford? Excuse me. So again, this week we're talking about other considerations for debt management, and two things that we're talking about is this week, secured debt versus unsecured debt, good debt versus bad debt. And then on Friday, we're going to talk about the debt to credit utilization ratio. It is so important, because I want you to think about when you're charging something on a credit card and you're already above a threshold of 30% on having a 30% balance of your credit limit, I want you to think about, was it and is it worth it? Okay? So that's what we learned today, and we will continue the conversation on Friday. Let me give you all some pointers. Friday, I will not be live. I will be recorded. I have a meeting and I cannot get out of the meeting. So I will be here at 12, but it will be a recording. So I will see y'all at 12 on Friday for the Inner Circle Collective financial tip, okay, that we're talking about this week. Also, I want to remind you that the debt management class is on this Friday, January the 30th at 6 p.m. via Zoom. Your registration is required. I want to see who's coming. We're going to interact with each other, and we're going to break down some key things that you all need to learn in regards to debt management. I want you to continue to ask yourself the question, how can I reimagine my relationship with money? Because when you look at money as a resource and not something evil or something that is just part of living and really making it work for yourself, you can get out of debt, move to investing in savings, and then move to some other things you want to do, like life insurance and estate planning and all those things, because then you can build a legacy. So we're moving from debt to savings and investing to legacy building. That's where we're going. That's why I'm your legacy builder coach. Also, I want to remind you that the Inner Circle Collective subscription is going up this Sunday, February the 1st, from $39. It's moving up to $47. If you are on the fence or not sure, please consider jumping on now, because you will have that $39 subscription rate for the life of the time you're with us. Remember, we're going to be talking about 5-pillar conversations, finances, which I'm your financial coach, the legacy builder, LaShawn E. Michael Esquire. And then we're going to be dealing with career, technology. We're going to be dealing with wellness. We're going to be dealing with spirituality and relationships. All things that people are interested in. Remember, we want you to always consider that there's nothing broken, there's nothing to fix. You're perfect the way you are, but you can be better. And what better way is to grow together with a community? The Inner Circle Collective is a community that I want you to consider. And remember, we want you to explore, we want you to reflect, we want you to develop, and we want you to grow. Be a better you in 2026. I know I want to be, and I would love to do this and walk this journey with y'all together. So please consider joining the Inner Circle Collective. Remember, like our business page, Inner Circle Collective, and then as I said, the subscription fee is going up. So if you're on the fence, you have until the 31st to get this lock in, this $39 fee. All right, y'all. Have a great day. Rest of the week. Shopping freeze challenge. No fast food. I know it's hard. I like fast food too. No fast food. Excuse me. Debt management class is set for Friday, January 30th at 6 p.m., okay? And you have up until Saturday, January 31st, to lock in the $39 rate for the subscription. All right, all of these things are pinned at the top of this post, and I'll see y'all on Friday. Bye for now.